Internet, hello, you absolute lovelies. It is another This Week in Comics. We are diving into all sorts of goodness today. We had an impromptu early live earlier this week with all of the DC breaking news happening at DC Studios. I wanted to make sure we talked about all of the rest of the news that is happening. We are getting a Punisher solo special presentation like the Guardians one, like Werewolf by Night, and it's going to be written by and starring JON BERNTHAL. We are also getting lots and lots of stuff with Lanterns ramping up. Production is a go for Lanterns. We got our first photo today. We also have a lot of licensing stuff happening with Marvel and DC Comics, and we're getting our first new DC and Marvel comic collaboration in the comic books for the first time in a very long time, and more news. Plus, as ever, I'm going to be reviewing my favorite comics from last week, the week of the 12th. The 19th, the week of the 19th, my favorite comics from the 19th, as well as previewing the comics that dropped just yesterday on the 26th. So lots and lots of stuff to discuss. If you're new to this page, please hit that subscription bell. We are approaching 50K. We passed 43. We are on the road to 45 and then on to 50K. When we hit 50K, I'm going to do a 50 comic giveaway. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and I buy a lot of comic books. And some of the ones I don't collect, I want to do a giant giveaway with my first big marker of 50K and giving away a stack of comics. Very excited to do so. Some of them will be these comics. These are the comics I'm reading this week. So please do check out my page if you like movie reviews, if you like TV reviews, if you especially like comics. Hit that subscription bell. Very excited about all of the above. Without further ado, hit the like. Leave a comment below if you're watching this later. I want to know what you think of all this news. Let's talk about the news. First up, we got our first look at Lanterns. Lanterns is the terrestrial base space cop adventure of John Stewart, and what I believe will be the last, but maybe not, foray into Hal Jordan as he, I think, turns by the end of this season. I'm really curious what they do by having this open with the debut. Is this going to be a single isolated season that leads to, Parallax, and like how much is Sinestro? I have a lot of questions, but what's exciting to me is we are finally getting a live action John Stewart, and we're finally getting some looks at this now that it's into production. I am very excited that Aaron Pierre is playing John Stewart because, I mean, if you guys haven't seen Rebel Ridge, it is a audition for John Stewart. Like the entire project feels like a John Stewart tape. And then we have the always incredible Kyle Chandler as our Hal Jordan. And today we got our very first look at what that actually looks like. Now, this has always been intriguing because it is a terrestrial story, and that is always going to be interesting with a space cop show. But I really like the idea that instead of adapting one certain storyline, they're actually making a story using the power of their below-the-line crew, which is Chris Mundy, the showrunner of Ozark, Damon Lindelof, one of the biggest comic book heads I know, and of course Tom King, who is I would argue one of the biggest writers at DC right now, and doing a terrestrial story where those guys have basically the power to make their own thing is very intriguing to me. So we got our first image of these two gents, Aaron Pierre as John Stewart, Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, and it's in production. So this is the beginning of everything. Superman is already wrapped. We have Supergirl now in production. We have Lanterns now officially in production with this photo. We have lots of casting going on with things ramping up. We had our big DC announcement day. I think that was a way to wet our whistle for a foray of stuff going into the summer, but all of this is a big ramp up to a giant new universe. And I've said over and over again how exciting it is that it is a new universe that is shared of characters we already know, but we've never had anything launch like this. When the DCEU launched, it was right on the heels of the MCU launching, and lots of things got, messy over time, and things just inevitably fell apart. But that was during a time of people not knowing what they really wanted out of shared universes. And likewise, the MCU has had these crazy, crazy highs, but now it's kind of trapped in a position of having to be an installment into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. The DCU can learn from both of these shared universes and build something brand new. And I think that's the power of Lanterns. Some things being connected, some things being not. Some things we've seen work, some things not. And I feel like Green Lantern, much like the Incredible Hulk, but even to a bigger scale, was supposed to be a bigger player in another shared universe, and they learned a lot of lessons about what doesn't work there. And I think, honestly, like, Lanterns is going to be a beautiful cornerstone of this new DCU to come, and I'm very excited about it. So now that it's in production, I just wanted to give Lanterns its flowers. This is one of my most anticipated shows in the next 5 years. I think the below the line talent is some of the best ever assembled. Mundy, Lindelof, and King, that is a crazy team behind this situation. And I'm really just genuinely and generally excited. We also got the big news out of Marvel this week. I want to give all of the DC love and some Marvel love, then dive into the comics. But guys, Punisher is getting a special presentation. Special presentations at Marvel, I think, are their secret sauce. I think there's a really amazing opportunity here to do these one-shots like in comic books and either elevate a character, reestablish a character, or even introduce a character as we're getting into the world of Fox, as we're getting into X-Men and Fantastic Four. I think we'll see a lot of that, but I think this is a very smart pivot to go from, oh, we're going to greenlight, some more obscure characters, we're going to do some stuff over here, to no, we're going to be bringing in these characters you know and love, and we're going to establish them in this universe by giving them these special presentations. And what better one to do that with than Jon Bernthal's Punisher? Now, this has been described like as a shotgun blast of a story, but still with all the heart and pathos of the take that Jon Bernthal has brought us. And not only is it starring Jon Bernthal reprising his role as Punisher for the first time since the very, very close next week Daredevil season 4/Daredevil Born Again, but he's also writing it. So we're getting a special presentation co-written by Jon Bernthal, starring Jon Bernthal in the canon we're about to see unfold with Daredevil Born Again, and I think it's next year. So this is all cooking up really beautifully. I hope they continue this on, doing stuff with maybe X-Men and bringing those into this canon, maybe a Fantastic Four one-shot. I'd love if they use their bigger characters as well as their smaller characters. I adored Werewolf by Night. I think Werewolf by Night was the best use of a special presentation possible. I'd love to see a mix of big old characters like Punisher and then characters like Werewolf by Night in these one-shots. I know not everything's going to get a theatrical movie. I know not everything is going to get greenlit for a show. This is a beautiful middle ground, and they still get these live action adaptations. So I'm stoked. I think it's a great idea. I love how much Bernthal loves this character. I love all of the things this could be. I love the hope of what this ties into. Time will tell. We'll see. I'm very excited. So I am going to check on the super chats. I see we just got one. And as always, you lovelies, I'm going to be in the live chat as much as possible. But it moves fast, so I cannot guarantee I'll get to everyone. But I promise you I will not leave this until I've hit every single Streamlab and super chat. First up, we've got one from Joel Familia. Thank you, Joel. I appreciate it very much. Joel says, Mundy just said, Mundy being the showrunner, Chris Mundy from Ozark, and now Lanterns. Mundy just said Lanterns is not connected to the DCU. WTF, man. Look, I work with DC Studios at the DC Studio Showcase show I love dearly every other Friday on Max and also on Max's YouTube. You can also listen to it anywhere you stream your pods. If you like podcasts, you like comic books, please check out DC Studio Showcase. That being said, asterisks aside, I don't know what is canon and what isn't until I see it. And I do also know one of the things I'm excited for is this not being beholden to being trapped in one lane. I know they're going to grow things out. I know some things are going to be in the DCU. Some things are going to be Elseworlds. I know all of that. And as of this moment, I know about as much as you guys. I am only a couple months ahead of you on knowledge of anything, much less everything. So I honestly don't mind. I personally read comic books like when I pick up Wonder Woman and when I pick up Jenny Sparks and then I pick up Batman Dark Patterns, I don't think about these characters meeting. I think about, is this issue good? Is this issue good? And is this issue good? And then I go, oh, the Green Lantern Corps. I hope that issue's good. But until they're all in one shared thing, like an Elseworld, and this is all these characters only sharing this dynamic together, I don't really personally need or want everything to be super connected. I would much rather the individual story contained here be exceptional, then worry about how it's connected there. And I think, honestly, that is how Marvel has fallen into a really tricky situation where everyone is just waiting on the next thing instead of enjoying the thing. Do I want to see Aaron Pierre interact with Superman down the line? Absolutely. But does it mean I don't want to see Lanterns sooner and then see how it develops? No, I want Lanterns, and I want to see what that means for that. So I think shared universes are a very slippery slope. I think the idea of doing a shared universe where whatever is canon in the story is what is actually expressed in the story. Like in a group of 10 friends hanging out, when there's 10 friends and then say they're off at a weekend like retreat, like 10 friends hanging out at a cabin. A year goes by, one of those friends tells a story that was at the cabin and one wasn't at the cabin, but he's heard stories about what happened at the cabin. They're going to have two different versions of that story. Whatever canon is whichever person is telling that tale. So I would love if comics in the same way and comic adaptations got to just be like, I'm focused on the person telling the story. What's going to be canon to that journey? What actually matters is that one as a bubble. So personally, I'm cool with whatever they end up cooking up because I really trust in the creators. I really trust in the filmmakers. I don't care what is this holy canon yet. I'm curious how it shakes out. But to me, it's not the biggest deal to have it in the DCU or not yet because it hasn't started yet to scale. So far, the only thing in the DCU is Creature Commandos. Superman's coming up. Then we're going to kick off and we'll see what is in that path and what isn't. And I'm just going to wait and see. Next up, we have Chris Fields. Chris Fields, thank you very much for the super chat. It means the world to me. Chris Fields saying, sending some love for the house fund. I appreciate that very much for new viewers to this page and for anyone who is a casual, usually watches my reviews. I am throwing every dollar I can into getting a house either to rent or to buy, hopefully to buy. Your boy's in his 30s and he is engaged and he is trying very, very hard to get a house for his fiance. So I'm throwing all the money I make on YouTube into a house fund. In the meantime, we are upgrading this place and I recently just got a new couch. Ooh, couch. And cat. Spidey's co-hosting. I had the same couch that was a futon couch for 5 years and the back finally just stopped lifting. So it was time for a new couch. But yeah, so anyone that says house fund, know that that is where it is going. I'm trying to be a grown man in America in 2025, which means moving back with my parents. No, a lot of people have had to, and it's hard, and I empathize. But I'm trying to go the other way, get a house, and start a family. So I appreciate that very much. John Tyson, the newer podcast with Greg is awesome. Thank you very much, man, for the super chat and the kind words. Really enjoyed the conversation about shrinking. Keep those conversations coming. I appreciate that dearly. It is my favorite thing we're doing over at Real Rejects. I'm a long form fella. I'm also a conversation guy. I love doing reactions. I love doing reviews, but I love conversations more. Big reason I like interviews, the big reason I do this for a living is so I can do interviews and so I can talk to people that I admire, appreciate, and respect. And I think it is a beautiful platform the internet has given us to have these conversations. So doing them with Greg allows for less scheduling conflicts, but also allows to build that platform out of long form conversations. And eventually we're going to be throwing some interviews in there and lots of other stuff. But in the meantime, I'm very happy. John, I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's one of my favorite things to do. And it's certainly my favorite thing over at Real Rejects. So thank you. We're actually filming some today. You'll see this shirt on tomorrow's episode. We film usually today and then post it in the morning. So I appreciate that. I'm filming that right after this. That is the next step. I appreciate it very much. All right. Next up in the news, we have talked JON BERNTHAL. We have talked Lanterns. Now we need to talk about the glory that is the modern version of the Amalgam universe. We don't have a lot of details yet. We don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we do know for the first time in literally over a decade, we are getting a DC Marvel comic book crossover. It is official. I reported on it early this year and last year that we are finally getting reprints of the Amalgam Universe comic stuff. The comics at Amalgam are, sometimes it's DC versus or DC with, but often comic book companies, gather together. I see the chat, 2 decades. Yes. 20 years is more than 10. I stand by what I said. It is more than a decade. 2 decades is also more than a decade. I stand by my point. I don't want to think about the 2000s being more than 20 years ago. I don't want that. So I'm going to say a decade for me and my old man knees. It's been about a decade plus another decade. But we are getting new Marvel DC collaborative comics. And to me, not only should this get people off of their weird Marvel versus DC baloney, but it also needs to show people that collaborations like that benefit all comics. When you've got a company that is rising tide lifting all boatsy, and then you come together, it's a great way for people that are like, I only read Marvel, I only read DC, to learn new characters and to learn a character they might like at the other house. And likewise, when something like the Absolute line comes out and absolutely smokes records, it makes people go to the comic store. And the average comic person, or the average person, not even a comic person, is not going to go, oh, I'm going to pick up Absolute Batman. I've heard of this Spider-Man guy, but I think he's at Marvel. I'm not allowed to read that. People getting in comic book stores is always a net positive. And I think these big crossover events are a huge net positive for both companies, for character awareness, for sales, for overall comic awareness, for getting rid of the stigma of this weird rivalry that fans have that the actual publishers don't nearly as much as the fans do. So I'm really excited to see that after, yes, 20 years, that these two companies are doing this again. I think it's really smart. It gives me hope that as this builds, I do think the inevitability of some giant collaboration between these two companies, whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or whenever, is coming. But planting the seeds now, back where they started, back in comic books, is just so exciting. You also see actors, directors, writers, James Gunn himself, who has worked at Marvel, now working at DC, running the DC Studios leg. That to me also gives me hope to, see these companies not be seen as adversaries or rivals. It is preposterous. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, one of the best comic book movies ever been. Now he's making Superman. There isn't this weird one or the other. It's comic books. I love Image as much as I love Marvel and DC. I love Boom. I love Dynamite. And I'd love to see less rivalry and more coming together. And we're getting that with this glorious, glorious new amalgam adjacent universe of these worlds coming together. Also, I took notes about the Punisher thing. I forgot to mention Reynaldo Marcus Green, director of King Richard, which got Will Smith his Oscar a couple years ago, is set to direct the Punisher one-shot. So it has been described, as I said, as a shotgun blast of a story, but also has a lot of pathos and emotion. It is co-written by Jon Bernthal, and it is directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green. What an array of talent. Just wanted to give that some love. Also, last bit of news before we get to comic book stuff is an interesting bit of Spider-Man news. Now, Daredevil is airing next week. Daredevil is going to be, I'm going to cover that every single day, every single week on this channel. I'm going to be doing reactions after each episode. The pilot is a part 1 and part 2. I'd love to know in the chat if you would like me to do them as 1 or as 2. Like, do you want me to review, basically, they start in the 4th. Should I do a review of both episodes that air in the 4th, or do you guys want a review of episode 1, then episode 2 to drop a couple hours apart? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this in the replay. I wanted to do every Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man individual episodes, but they did better when they were clustered together. So let me know what you guys think. But I'm going to be reviewing the Daredevil stuff every single week. So hit that subscription bell, because that is the goal for March and April. And what's interesting is they're doing it as the first day it airs is 2 episodes. The second week it airs is episode 3. The third week it airs is episode 4. And then the 4th week it airs, the last week of March, is episodes 5 and 6. So we'll have 6 out of the 9 episodes already out by the end of March. And then it's going to be 3 episodes in April, wrapping up in time for Andor. And then Andor has an even crazier schedule. Andor is Chapter 1, April 22nd, you get 3 episodes. Chapter 2, April 29th, 3 episodes. Chapter 3, May 6th. Chapter 4, May 13th, 3 episode blocks of each. So Andor is coming out in big old chunks. I'm going to be covering Andor because that's my favorite Star Wars thing since Empire. That and everyone knows my beloved Last Jedi. But I'm going to be covering Andor, and that's probably going to be an episode chunk. But if the Daredevil ones, you like the individual episodes, we'll see. But I'm going to be covering those that way. Cannot do it live. I'm reacting. Trell Warren Customs. I'm reacting over at Real Rejects. So you can see my reactions at Rejects. You can see my reviews right here. But I cannot do it live because I'll be doing them at various times. Various companies would not work to put that on this page. But I'm going to be covering Andor. And like I said, I'm going to be covering Daredevil. So please follow along in this journey. Hit that subscription bell. Let's talk about Spider-Man. My tangent was, I feel like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man rushed its release because of Daredevil, which was silly because Charlie Cox voiced Daredevil in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and it would have been awesome to have that crossover of him having two shows. It's a silly thing. Anyway, I digress. Spider-Man, we found out through an interview with Brad Winderbaum, the basically lead of TV at Marvel, the Kevin Feige to Marvel's TV. He said that Sony does in fact have the live action rights to Spider-Man. So Spider-Man cannot appear or have his own. Maybe he can appear. I don't know. I'm hoping he shows up in Daredevil, but apparently he can't have his own show in live action. I think that's super interesting because I had assumed there was some sort of tricky licensing rights with Sony that was causing them not to be able to use certain Spider-Man things. And that's why Ben Reilly is Spider-Man Noir in the Nicolas Cage show that's coming out on Amazon. But it seems like they do have the live action rights, but they just haven't used them yet. So I'm really intrigued what Sony does next. I'm really intrigued what we get out of this new era of Sony Spider-Man, because they did end the Sony universe of Marvel characters as we knew it. The Madam Web, Morbius, Venom, that whole thing is done. I'm really curious what comes next now that we know for a fact the live action TV rights are with Sony, according to Marvel, and I believe they'd know. So it's really interesting. I had not heard of this. I hadn't realized this was that in stone. We will see how it all goes, but time will tell if we ever get any Sony-based Spider-Man shows and if things develop that are going to be shared between these two companies. I'm very curious what also happens post-Secret Wars, because I assume we're going to get Miles Morales, and I think it'd be really smart of Sony to use Miles Morales as the cornerstone of their universe. I think eventually, Tom Holland dying in a Miles Morales origin would be very heartfelt. I assume we're going to get at least one more trilogy of Tom Holland Spider-Man, but all of this is kind of up in the air. We know we're getting a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland. We know that production's been rocky, but it sounds like things are finally at a really solid place. It's going to be directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. Apologies, the Destin's first. Destin Daniel Cretton. And I think he's a perfect director for it. The Shang-Chi fights had such style, panache, and beautiful acrobatics. I think that's perfect for Spider-Man. What I'm curious about is we've had the multiverse versus friendly neighborhood, like street level approach be back and forth. Do we get a chance to have that trilogy with Tom Holland before we go to Miles? And will Miles be the one they bring to TV and film? I'm really curious what Sony does in general. But yeah, that Amazon show I'm very curious about as well. Spider-Man Noir. What do you mean no? Nick Cage Spider-Man Noir. What about it? Yeah, the Nick Cage Spider-Man Noir. Apparently his name is Ben Reilly, which I think is really intriguing. I'm so excited for that show. I've been tooting that horn very loudly. I think the casting of Lamorne Morris as Robbie Robertson has me so stoked. One of my favorite actors working, Brendan Gleeson, is in the Spider-Man Noir show. I think he's Doc Ock. Just for some reason, he's good Doc Ock vibes, but he might not be. But yeah, I'm super stoked for Spider-Man Noir. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about the rights stuff going on in the Sony versus Marvel era. What do you guys want to see in that world? And do you think we'll get a Spider-Man show? And that is why we haven't yet. I'm also curious what Lord and Miller end up doing. Beyond the Spider-Verse is undated. I think more things should stay undated until they are ready. I think what DC is doing is what I would do, which is make announcements in the short term. Don't show your cards too much, because things like the writer's strike happened, because things like the pandemic happened, and it throws off scheduling. And I think I'd rather not know a date 5 years away or even 4 years away, not even 3 years away, if it can change and if actors can change. I would rather just have announcements once things are in stone. So personally, shorter announcements, shorter phase announcements. Give me hype with characters. Tell me what comics I should reread. Tell me what comics to recommend to people. Let's see as things cook. But it is a very slippery slope. And I think Sony has found themselves in that position with that Sony Universal Marvel characters not taking off as they assumed it would. It is very tricky all around. Things need to be, announce something when they're written. Shantae, I agree. Shantae, I love what DC is doing with basically once a script is done, then they say, okay, now we're going into production. You can be like, look, these are the characters we want to develop ideas for, but the language has to be really clear of like, this is what we're developing versus this is going into production versus this has a release date. Those are three very different phases. So we will see, you lovelies, but that is going to do it for the Sony Spider-Man news. We talked Punisher, we talked Lanterns. If you guys haven't seen my DC Studios conversation, I dropped that this week. It was my last live. It was Monday. Talked all about Colin Farrell's comments on the Penguin season 2. Talked all about Pattinson not likely to be the DCU Batman, which is a huge relief for me. I want a separate Batman in the DCU because of how much I love Matt Reeves' Penguin and Batman universe. I think that groundedness needs to stay in his own universe, and then let a Batman that can fight, big absurdist villains exist in a world where Krypto and Superman and Lanterns are running around. That's the power of comic books. Detective Comics, Batman, and Justice League all exist in different art styles and different story styles and different writing styles. The movies can too. Make twice the money, make twice the Batman. He's very popular. So that was confirmed softly during the meeting as well. I discussed the 3 new shows, Starfire, My Adventures with Green Lantern, as well as the Superpower show. Those 3 animated shows were all discussed earlier in the week. I break those down over on that live, as well as discussing the little updates we had from Peter Safran and James Gunn. And as always, whether it's me wearing, a DC Studios shirt, me working at the DC Studios set, or right here in my own freaking living room, I, as a fan, am going to listen to quotes from people that are actually inside the offices, not the bevy of rumors that are always going around. There were rumors that were saying stuff was confirmed that they actually had to come out and be like, no, not confirmed. In fact, not ever a real conversation. So until you see it like actually locked, be very wary. I feel like misinformation is kryptonite for loving comic book movies, because worst case scenario, you hate it and then you're thinking it's going to be that, and then you just aren't excited for the project for a year and then it never was that. Or best case scenario, you don't know about it, but other people are pre-mad at something that was never true. And that's really messy. Like the Daniel Craig Sergeant Rock thing. I never heard anyone confirm it. And by the time the news got around, it was like, they're filming. What? So yeah, it's really, really tricky. So yeah, I think listening to actual news, we'll see. I don't know. Time will tell. Like I said, any super chats I will make sure to get to, but I want to talk about the comics themselves. I am going to quickly go through the live chat to make sure I hit any questions I want to talk about. I really appreciate the love for the new podcast. Let's see. More Dark Claw. Man, I hope we get more Dark Claw. I hope for that as well. Spider-Boy was also dope. The combination of Superboy and Spider-Man. Superboy and Spider-Man. Koi, been some time. Hope all's good. Are you going to Awesome Con? I am not. I'm going to CinemaCon and I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con, and I hope to go to New York Comic-Con. All the regional cons, they've kind of shifted how they do things, where they're hiring networks like CBR and Collider and those folk, and they're doing the interviews. So I'd love to come back when it lines up. But so far, the regional cons have kind of changed how they're organizing their moderators. So I love moderating. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love hosting panels. I love meeting people because the internet is dark and cons are light. So anytime a con wants me, I am there, but I have not heard from the regional ones for this season personally. People timestamp. Oh, it's Jasmine. Jasmine, thank you for timestamping. I've covered the big news so far in order. Lanterns, Punisher, Spider-Man. At the timestamping. I think the Punisher moment is probably the biggest thing. Because, frankly, that's so exciting. The Lantern's image is really freaking dope, though. So, like, that's a moment of impact. I don't know. I trust you. Let's see. People are saying one vid. My mom is excited for Daredevil. My mom is in the chat. Hello, mother. Let's see. People talking about team-ups they want to see. I agree. I would love to see Cassie Kane and Laura Kinney. That is very fun. That is Wolverine and our very, very, well, 2 ninjas, basically. I like this ninja team up. Koi, been buying comics again since your show started. Thank you. That means so much. Mostly back issues and an auction, but picked up Lilith and New Justice League and Atwater. Village Hole in the Wall Shop. Thanks for your inspiration. What up? I love Atwater Village. It's one of my favorite little towns in LA. That makes me so happy. Dude, I love hearing that people are buying comics, especially if I had anything to do with it. That makes me so happy. Hit the like button. There's almost 200 of you in here. It's 185 of you. Hit the like button. We got 86 likes. Let's grow that likes. The algorithm likes this video, and we keep it going. I'm definitely taking a moment to enjoy the chat here for a minute. I don't know what the Cowboys fan 92 disagreed with me. I don't know what I said. That was minutes ago. Sorry. Hope I didn't offend you and you just disagree respectfully. Just acquired Spidey Marriage to Mary Jane, an annual issue from the 80s. I think anyone tried to press a comic at home. I've never tried to press a comic at home. That scares the crap out of me. However, I am getting married, and that very cover is going to be part of the inspiration for the invitations. My fiance is amazing and was like, yeah, that sounds cute. And I was like, yes, nerd invitations. So yes, I love that cover very much. I believe it's annual 28, if memory serves. And yeah, that one means a lot to me. John Romita Sr. pencils, also, if I remember correctly. Comic book adjacent. Sadly, the Wonder Woman get canceled and Monolith Studios closed. Really sad, given the studio made some revolutionary tech, not able to put the creativity in Wonder Woman game. Yeah, I mean, I feel like no jobs are safe, man. The economy is something special. Yeah, jobs are tricky, and I was excited for that game as well. I don't game. Like, I have a PS4. I'm a generation behind. I bought a PS4 for Spider-Man, and then I just don't have time to keep up. I play some racing games and some fighting games. My parents got me when I have time as like a way to de-stress. But like long-form gaming, I don't have time for it. But I was excited for gamers to get a Wonder Woman game and to hear about it. But yeah, it is such a bummer. Let's see. The release date slate is formula's tricky, but nowadays I won't believe it unless the news is spread out everywhere, not just one news source. Yeah, one news source certainly would not be trustworthy because people can just say stuff, get the clicks, and be like, oops, or not even say oops, but the clicks are what they want, and it's really dangerous. It's really messy. Until I see it from official sources, plural, or someone actually, if I see the soundbite happen and the quote, then I'm all about it. Let's see. My mom and Jasmine talking to the chat is very cute and very funny. Jasmine, by the way, you guys, if you guys have been enjoying my social media for the month of February, since the second week of February, Jasmine has been helping me edit, post, conceive, design, construct. So give some love to Jasmine Pagemore in the chat for helping me understand or even comprehend why social media is worth being on anymore, because I don't like it, but she's making it tolerable. So the panache, the style, and all that, if you guys need someone to run your socials, hit up Jasmine. She's the best, and she's also keeping me sane by just, my God, escaping it for a moment. I know you don't get to, yeah, exactly. See the love in there? That's happening. She also has ideas of clips and stuff and then chops them together. You're not getting away. No. 42,000 I hit on Instagram yesterday. I had accepted. I was never going to get over 41. I'd been at 41 for like 8 months, and I was like, 41,000 seems like the number I'll die at. 42 feels good. Broke out of that trap of 41. I appreciate you, Jasmine. Let's talk about comic books. Yeah, absolute lovelies. My favorite comic books from last week, the books I just finished reading, I kid you not, at 12:48. The reason the show had to be at 1 was because I was reading last week's comics up until 12:48. I'm very busy always, but man, oh man, has it been a lot between Real Rejects, Capes and Cowls, this channel that I'm trying to do 3 to 5 videos every single week on, DC Studios Showcase, my podcast, Koicast, that I always forget to plug, my Patreon. I got a lot, and it's driving me crazy, but I really want the comics themselves to be the focus of this entire channel. So I want to break down my favorite comics from last week. Also, you lovelies, if you want to know what I thought of not just the top 9, these are just the 9 comics that I think are both the best comics of the week, and also I try to lean them more approachable. If you want to know what I thought of each and every comic I read last week, which is 40 to 50 new comics. I read about 10 to 20 old ones to keep up on the news. I don't rate those. But the 40 to 50 new books I read every single week, you can check out patreon.com/KoiJandro, and I literally rate them A+, A minus, B+, B, B minus. Like, I rate the comic books I'm reading. So if you want to know, oh, what's this new title? Should I check it out? If you want to know, oh, what did you think of this issue? I update it like twice a month, and it's every book. So these 9 are just the 9 I think you should hear about here. But it's like $5 my Patreon. I'm not trying to make a ton of money. I'm just trying to balance comic cost and time a little bit. So check it out if that intrigues you. Also, Koicast, wherever you stream your pods. That's me and Jasmine's next journey, is trying to make this into a thing, because it's another crazy thing I do that I never remember to talk about. But I've had a podcast for 5 years as of March 3rd. March 3rd is 5 years of Koicast, and I've probably plugged it 5 times. This is 6. But yeah, check out Koicast. It's a really fun pod to do with my buddy Jake, and we discuss comics, culture, movies, all the stuff that you guys know me for, but with a curmudgeonly New Yorker. All right, let's dive into my favorite comics from last week in alphabetical order from the week of the 19th. First up is Aliens versus Avengers, which was absolutely incredible. The Assad Rabis art is so stunning. That book has been so well written that you're actually like, yeah, these two worlds do go together. How hasn't this been done before? Feels like the opposite of a cash grab. It is shockingly good. Highly recommend it. Also want to give some love to Batman and Robin Year 1, number 5. Okay, hold on. I'm pulling up covers, but internet's loading slow. So, Aliens versus Avengers #3 is the first plug. Look for this cover right here. That right there is, you'll notice a symbiote adjacent suit, but also with a xenomorph based body, and that is Miles Morales in that suit. So it's a blend of Future Foundation suit, Miles Morales, and aliens in the world of symbiote stuff. It's pretty badass. Highly recommend. The art and writing is so top notch. Really, really digging this book. And then, like I said, the next on the list is going to be Batman and Robin Year One, #5. Loving this book from Mark Waid and Chris Samney. It is the origin stuff of Batman and Robin and just telling new tales from that OG time. And this is a Clayface-centric issue, and it is darling. Really enjoy both the dynamic of the two of them, especially juxtaposing the Damian Wayne stuff, because Damian Wayne is kind of the Robin right now in mainstream continuity. Seeing Dick Grayson back, seeing those early adventures, seeing the art from Chris Samney, really, really fun to have those two books going simultaneously. All right, next up, we've got Jenny Sparks #7. This is the final issue in the Jenny Sparks miniseries from the great Tom King. Tom King is writing the hell out of so many books over at DC, and he's also one of the writers on Lanterns. He's like formative to the world of DC, and this is the final issue in the Jenny Sparks series, so you only have 7 issues to pick up. This will be one beautifully contained trade. It deals with a character that's in the Authority, which was one of the things announced at the DC Studios launch. She is an absolute badass, and she's fighting a literal god, a god that can take out Superman and Batman, and how do you do that? And the manipulations therein. Highly recommend this book from the jump. It won't make much sense for its last issue, but going back to the beginning, Jenny Sparks is such a powerhouse of a book. All right, next up, we've got Doom Academy. Guys, I don't know how my alphabet got so messed up. I think it's because I read Jenny Sparks last, so I added her in there late, but that's not how the alphabet goes. Next up, we've got Doom Academy #1, and Doom Academy is a spiritual sequel to Strange Academy, which is kind of like Harry Potter, but if Doctor Strange ran it with Brother Voodoo, and basically the world of magic in comics, but altering that to fit a school setting. And now Doom is running it. This is really fun. Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme. Doom is making sure his authority is recognized, and all the magic students are trying to balance the scales and keep things safe. If you like magic in your comics, if you like Dr. Doom, highly recommend that combination. Next up, we've got Exceptional X-Men #6. Exceptional X-Men is the story that is Kitty Pryde-centric. It is basically Kitty, Kate Pryde, whatever you want to call her, as the leader of a group of X-Men that don't really want to be X-Men, but they're kind of trapped into having to be because they're mutants, and some of them are visibly mutated, some of them are not, but they feel like the authority and the moral compulsion to do so. Really fantastic story. Highly recommend Exceptional X-Men, especially if you like Kitty Pryde. Her leading a team is delightful, and it's a really great commentary on 2025. It's a really interesting look at the world today and X-Men in that world. All right, next up, we're going to stick with X-Men for a minute. Weapon X-Men. Weapon X-Men is an X-Force kind of title. It feels very X-Forcey. It is a team of assassin X-Men, and I personally have a bias towards this team because it consists of Wolverine, Deadpool, Cable, and an X-Men I don't see nearly enough of. One of my all-time favorite X-Men, the great Chamber. Chamber's from Generation X. He is awesome. And then about a third of the way into this book, they also enlist Proudstar. Now, this book is the dream for X-Force fans, but it's also, Chamber is one of my favorite obscure X-Men ever. Jonathan Starsmore is like this 70s punk icon that blew half his face off when his mutation took over and the sonic blast blew his face off, and now he has this eternal flame emitting from his mouth. He's awesome. He's all the edgy things of the 90s, but he still works today. Really dig the character. Really happy to see him come back. All right, next up, we've got Wonder Woman #18. Wonder Woman 18, I finished reading a little bit before the show. Wonder Woman 18 is the continued journey of the revenge tour of Wonder Woman getting back at the people that killed, spoiler alert from 5 months ago, Steve Trevor. It's really intense. It's really well written. It's got this incredible pace. It's got this like thrum that feels like a war drum. It's how it's written. It's got these syncopations in its dialogue, and it's just so awesome. She's still so commanding, intelligent, and feminine while being brutal, but with compassion. It contains a lot of dichotomies, and it's really wonderful. Really, really dig Tom King's Wonder Woman and everything they're doing in that book. All right, next up, we've got 3 more. World Tree #3. So happy to see World Tree back. World Tree came back last month after a bit of hiatus. World Tree is about the undernet, the dark side of the internet. In this case, it's like parasitic. This is a very R-rated comic. It is a parasitic, all corrupting thing that, is a commentary on our internet, how much addiction it is, how dark and brutal and violent it can be, but also, in this case, a bit more supernatural. The cover kind of has boobs on it, but like not directly. I just don't know how much the internet's gonna censor. There we go. They're not like, they're just drawn, but I don't know if the internet. Anyway, that's the cover. World Treats, great book. Highly recommend it. And then lastly, two more. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is an incredible show, and in that canon, there's actually a comic book that takes place in that lore. If you've watched the show, you know that it's not our canon. That's kind of the fun of it, is it takes a lot of twists and turns and surprises you as you're reading it throughout, and this is the canon, but in comic book form. This is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 3, fighting the Enforcers for the first time, modifying his web shooters, evolving as a hero, and it's delightful. Delightful. And the last book I'm going to recommend from last week, the week of the 19th, before I go on to recommending books from yesterday, previewing yesterday's books, I would say you should also check out Zatanna number 1. If you guys know me from Real Rejects, if you saw mine and John Humphrey's reactions to the DC Universe, you know how much I love Zatanna. And this is a beautiful jumping on point. It's literally an issue 1. You never have had to read a comic in your life. It'll all make sense. And the beautiful thing about this is it's one of my favorite artists writing and illustrating. Jamal Campbell did the incredible Green Lantern Far Sector, and apparently impressed the brass enough to get writing and illustrating duties on one of my favorite characters. Zatanna is incredible. This is a brand new number 1. It catches you up on her story. It has some fun twists and turns. The art is gorgeous. It's a really fun book. Those are the ones I recommend highly for the week of the 19th. I'm going to read you guys what I recommend picking up that just dropped yesterday, here in a moment, but I'm going to check on the live chat. I saw that we got a super chat in. John Tyson with his 3rd super chat ever on a live stream. Thank you very, very much. What is my favorite DC Black Label book? Oh boy, that's hard. I love Black Label. Really enjoyed Swamp Thing, Green Hell, and just picked up Uncle Sam. Black Label is one of my favorite imprints. I really love that Vertigo is back because I do consider them separate. Black Label brought me some really great Joker stuff I love. Black Label, Hellblazer. I'm going to go Hellblazer, Dead in America. I think that is my favorite Black Label book, but there's so many. I think Black Label is a title and an imprint that if you go to the comic store and you like dark, and if you like R, and you like adult-centric comics, any Black Label book is going to tickle your fancy. It is a very consistent imprint, but I think Hellblazer is my number 1. Green Hell is great. Fantastic. Haven't read Uncle Sam, but I'll add it to my list. Teague with the super chat. In your opinion, what is the key to making the art of a comic not good but great? Is it the spacing, the atmospheric colors, principles of designs? It's a very interesting question, Teague. I think it is having a specific style that is true to you, but also consistent. So like characters looking like they fit in a world, and the world also being, as well established. So like when I read a comic, I love being able to be like, I'm in this world. I know exactly what it is. And the backgrounds are just as strong as the foregrounds. The characters are just as strong as the cars or the props or the objects. And then the flow of that story with the writer. Like if the story feels natural, like the writer dreamed it and the artist found that rhythm. So it's really a hard balance, but coloring's huge. Inking is huge. Like some artists do so much better with like Art Thibbert on inks will change an artist's style. Some, John Romita stuff works better with certain inkers than not. Or John Romita Jr. Sorry, John Romita Jr. is one of my favorite artists, but like when Hannah's inking him, I like him better than when other inkers are handling him. So there's a lot of factors. I love this question because I've never considered it, but rhythm, pacing, consistency, and immersiveness are the things that jump out, I think, for me. Fiona Staples has been incredible for over a decade. Ash, I totally agree. Fiona Staples is absolutely incredible. Like these are the cornerstone. All of this art can change. These are magnets, so I change these all the time. These are in my wall and live there because Fiona Staples is an icon and I love her work. Okay, that is going to do it for the review. Let's do the preview. The comics I'm most excited to pick up yesterday. Haven't been to the comic store yet. Going tomorrow. These are the books I'm going to be reading this week in alphabetical order. Absolute Wonder Woman number 5. Amazing Spider-Man 68. Death. Batman Last Halloween, number 5. That is Batman The Long Halloween, Last Halloween, number 5. That is in honor of Tim Sale, who had passed away. Him and Jeff Loeb had started doing their sequel to Batman The Long Halloween, and now different artists are picking up the pencil to honor him. It's a really beautiful story. Black Canary, Best of the Best, number 4. Blade Red Band, number 5. Captain America Volstagg, number 1. Daredevil Unleash Hell, number 2. Department of Truth, 28. I love that book so much. Fantastic Four 29. I adore that Fantastic Four run. Really digging it. I missed one. Detective Comics number 1094. Flash 18. Green Arrow 21. Green Lantern number 20. Green Lantern Dark number 3 from the artist of Something is Killing the Children, now at DC for that book. Harley Quinn 48. Hell Hunters number 3. Helverine number 3. Iron Man number 5. Justice League Unlimited number 4. Little Batman Month 1 number 4. I'm so excited for that book. Little Batman is such a good cartoon on Max. They made a comic out of it, and instead of year 1, it's month 1. Adorable. Picking up that issue ASAP. Metamorpho Element Man number 3. Napalm Lullaby number 9 came out a week ago, but I missed it. Knights number 13. Nightclub number 2. Power Girl number 18. Radiant Black 31. Red Hulk number 1. Oh, that's a new jumping on point if you want to check out Red Hulk, by the way. Rogue Savage Land number 2. Sabretooth Dead Don't Talk number 3. Sentinels number 5. Superman 23. TVA number 3. Ultimate Spider-Man number 14. That and Department of Truth, my books of the week. It's crazy those come out the same week. Those are always like my number 1 books of the month, and they're always out the last week of the month. Cannot wait for Ultimate Spider-Man 14. Ultimate X-Men 15. Uncanny Valley number 8. Vicarious number 5. West Coast Avengers number 4. Women of Marvel, She-Devils number 1. And X-Men number 12. Those are the books I'm picking up this week. I'm very excited about. All right, back to the super chats. We got Isaiah's Everything. Let's see what he has to say. Thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Hello, Koi. I hope you're doing well today. I am. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, put enough coffee in my body to raise an army from the dead, and now we're doing great. I got a lot to do today, so this is show 1 of 3, and I've read 22 comics today. And I've got to respond to about 40 emails, and then I've got to get to the gym at some point because I got to get all the energy out now that I've built it up. I was wondering who or what got you into comics, movies, music, and just pop culture in general. Isaiah. Comics was my dad. My dad was a huge comic book guy. My mom and dad actually met in art school. They're both artists. They're both very creative. They both have encouraged art from my entire life. My mom's a big movie person. My mom really encouraged me to get into whatever art I wanted to. Like, I wanted to be an actor. She encouraged it. I wanted to be a filmmaker. They helped me save up for a Mac to edit. Like, they've always been super supportive. So my parents, my mom's brother, my uncle also loved comics. So there were comics around. I inherited a lot of my dad's comics from the Claremont and Byrne X-Men era that helped me really supercharge. And he's the one that taught me like artists and, what different writer styles were, different artist styles. But then my uncle having them around was really helpful. So I was always surrounded by comics. Movies was my whole family. If you watch the interview I did with Greg, when he interviewed me on Real Rejects, like 4 months ago, not our ongoing show, but the Coy John Bro interview, I talked all about my family being like movie night people. We'd sit down and discuss movies, not just watch them. And then music, I kind of developed my own style because of my friends. My family's not as big into hip hop as I am. So that movies came from my family. Comics came from my dad. Music, I feel like, was my own journey. Because hip hop isn't really anyone in my family. They like my music, but they never listened to it on their own. My first memory of Tupac, though, was my mom in the car in like 94, maybe 93. So not hip hop people, but like definitely not to the level that I am. So a little bit of everything. Hope that answers your question. KDR401, thank you for the super chat. I'm gonna drink a coffee for a second. 1 second. Moment of silence and appreciation. KDR401. Coy, if possible, are you willing to read and review other original comics and graphic novels from comic companies like Black Sand or Unique Studios? Unfortunately, I actually can't. I am basically trapped into covering the ones I do because as it is, I'm already almost always a week behind. I right now need to reread a lot of Superman leading up to the release of Superman in July. And I've had one graphic novel a month goal since November and haven't read the first one that I wanted to reread. So I'm about 4 months behind because I'm reading 50 to 70 comics. I'm reading individual comics of like, I'm reading Lantern right now for like Lantern production going in, but I need to add Superman. I need to add all this stuff. So I just don't have the time. One of my favorite shows, Wu-Tang: An American Saga, had season 3 come out 2 years ago. And season 1 and 2 are 2 of my favorite shows of all time, like ever. I haven't had time to watch season 3. People are like, oh, if you're going to cover Superman and Lois, haven't seen it. People asked why I'm not covering Invincible. Haven't finished season 2. I just don't have enough hours in the day. As it is, I'm going a little crazy working at 5 networks and also the time to actually read these comics. So I don't have time to add in Independence beyond the Independence I'm already reading, but I very much appreciate you wanting me to. I just don't have the bandwidth, unfortunately. Next up, Cowboys fan 92 with the super chat. Much appreciated. I got a hot take. Unlike Twitter, I firmly believe Superman will blow the doors off of the box office when it comes to opening. I'm sensing around $90 billion by the end of week 2. Roughly $90 billion. Cowboys fan 92. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I appreciate your all caps. I very much appreciate your super chat. I think it's going to hit between 850 million and $1 billion. I do think it's got absolutely billion potential. I think hitting $1 billion is a lot harder than people think. I think there was a couple years where like 5 movies hit $1 billion and people are like, $1 billion, that's the bar. It is not the bar. $1 billion is crazy. 30 or so movies have hit $1 billion. I do think Superman is in that consideration, which means it's amongst the top like % of movie box office wise. I do think there is potential for this dude right here to do that. And I do think the movie's trailer doing all those records and everything is going to be crazy. Twitter's kind of a waste. I really love what Twitter was. I really love the idea of connecting all of us in a great like town square. But it's human nature being so negative has made Twitter so negative that like over time it just has rotted. So I wouldn't really listen to Twitter. Doesn't really matter. And that's what I'm trying to do, is not really listen to Twitter because it really doesn't matter. So yeah, I think it's going to do great. I'm very excited. I'm really stoked that you are excited as well. And I like your all caps decision. I feel like an all caps person. Shantae, I do not sleep. I need to very much. I'm working on that as well. I would like to sleep more. All right, let me see if there's any other live chat stuff real quick, and then we are gonna boogie on out of here. I wanted to make sure we got a nice hour in with you lovelies. Got to go film a show with Sir Greg, who I adore. Ragged Rack, I like the Mystique art. I'm a big Declan Shalvey fan. Declan is a lovely Irishman. Ragged, not to make you bias out of your own Irish bias, but Declan, a lovely Irish gent. Who's writing and illustrating Mystique. And I personally dig it, but it's very specific. I could see that. He illustrated my favorite Deadpool run ever. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I read It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth because of you. Amazing. I needed some time after that. Shantae, that makes me very happy. Kyle Carter, Hellblazer Dead in America hardcover came out this week. Hell yeah, it did. I got that bad boy. Love it. Coy, have you read the Reckless comic by Image? I heard Sebastian Stan is making a live action adaptation. Yes, he was announced late last year, I believe. I have not read it, but that's one of the ones I need to, especially as it gets cooking. Department of Truth ended for a while. It was on hiatus for like almost a year, but it came back 4 months ago. Or maybe 5, maybe 6. Anyway, it came back recently, and it had an incredible JFK era, Marilyn Monroe JFK arc. That's really fantastic, and it just concluded that arc. It's going into a new one, so it's back. Napalm Lullaby is coming out March 12th. Oh, I think I'm back either one issue or maybe I just had the date wrong. Thank you. I love League of Comic Geeks. They have exceptional sized covers. That's usually what I pull to show you guys the covers of. That's actually what I was just zooming in on so you guys can see. Marvel Masterpiece, Flare Ultra. Hell yeah, love those cards. So Coy, what do you enjoy more, podcasting, hosting, or reacting to movies? Hosting. I like hosting panels the most. I love the other stuff, but like a live audience and a panel, that's what I like doing. Reacting is great, and podcasting is fine. It's good. Like I really enjoy getting my thoughts out. It depends on the person I'm podcasting with. I would go like hosting, podcasting, reacting, social media. It's like down here somewhere. But yeah, I love everything I get to do. But my favorite thing by far is hosting panels and interviewing. Interviewing would be above hosting, but then hosting. Beautiful Ragged Recording. I appreciate you very, very much. No question. Just sending over some coins for the fun. I see what you did there. Coins. I appreciate you very, very much. Yeah, I love what I get to do. I just do too much of it. Quite real quick take in part 2. I like Batman wearing a dark navy blue cape and cowl as a visual symbolism for Batman's new take on being a beacon of hope for Gotham. I love that idea. I think it could go a little bluer. I think that's fun. I think that's a possibility. Yes, yes, yes. I'd love to see Ultimate Spider-Man interacting with regular Batman, drawn by Mora. Me too, man. Written by Hickman, Uncle Ben meeting Bruce, Richard is Spiting meeting Damian. Sign me up. It sounds amazing. I, 1, agree with all those takes. 2, I like what you've elaborated there because I agree with all those little moments being very amalgamy and very cool. 3, Dan Moore is one of the best to do it. And 4, I love that you're like, this is all great. It sounds amazing. And you wrote it yourself. I respect a nice, like, I got a great idea. Self-pat in the back. Not being ironic. I really respect that. Michael McCarsell, hopefully he ends the annual tradition of almost dying this year. Let's, guys, knock on wood. It's March in 2 days. January, February. I have had rough times every other year. I am steadfast in not getting COVID, an ear infection, a skull infection, or just general dying. And so far, it usually happens January, February. We're only 48 hours away from me clearing January, February. Again, knock on wood. Knock on wood. Mom, I'm hydrating and drinking coffee. I had 2 cups of water before this because I'm trying to hydrate so as to not die. I appreciate your concern. Michael, I agree. Losing Dan Mora has been very, very sad on Justice League. Still a good book, but not as great. Your hosting is very impressive. Thank you. I just finished a multi-con panel a few hours ago, and I didn't want it to end. It was really fun to watch. Thanks so much, man. The Gulp Boy, I appreciate that very much. It is my favorite thing to do. It is the thing I think I'm best at. I think it's a very hard skill, and I like being good at something that's hard, and I really appreciate those kind words very much. I agree, Robert Pruser. Twitter is an absolute cesspool now. Panel was great. Thank you, guys. If you guys haven't checked it out, I keep hitting the desk. This is on. If you guys haven't checked it out, multi-con panels, my panel, Greg's panel, which is also exceptional. Greg crushed at hosting. He really put his heart into that panel, and I really respect it. My panel, Greg's panel, and the Real Rejects panel are all up individually over at Real Rejects, as well as the full 7-hour stream of the entire multi-con. So I talked about multi-con a bit here. If you guys want to actually see it, check out Real Rejects. All those panels are up right there. I don't think we'll get Krakoa again. I think the ramifications are strong enough to keep going into the world where they're actually in a world that hates and fears them. Are we planning on doing any screenings this July? Not that I know of yet. I know we want to, but I do not know yet. Koi, I love your work, but you need to stop streaming only when I'm sleepy and about to go to bed. Tree D, I'm so sorry. I'm always like, what's Tree doing? Is Tree tired? Is Tree about to go to bed? Live stream. And, you know, it's working out. So sorry for that tradition. What are the odds of Daredevil or any of the Defenders appearing in Doomsday and or Secret Wars? High, I'd say. Did Muse die in the comic? Gotta read it. Cowboys Fan 92. By the way, if you want to support an independent artist hip-hop wise, check out yours truly under AG the Fighter everywhere at AG the Fighter. Hey guys, I love comics. I love hip-hop. I love independent artists. AG the Fighter everywhere. Check him out at AG the Fighter. I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. Check him out over there. All right, that is going to do it. I think my last thing on this here live stream. We talked all sorts of goodness with Lanterns, with Punisher, with Spider-Man rights, with the combination of Marvel and DC Comics coming back together again. I got to go film another show in 20 minutes. I just realized it was already 1:10 or 2:10. Got to get out of here. Much love to you lovelies. Please, if you're this deep into the live stream, hit that subscription bell. You just enjoyed 58 minutes of this. That means you at least like me a little bit. Hit the subscribe button. Also, leave a comment on this video. I want to know what you think of the Lanterns image. I want to know what you think of the Punisher special presentation. I want to know what comics you're reading. Any of those things, or all three. Bring it. Any or all of those, I would love to read in the comments below. And I would really appreciate if you guys could like this video. Most likes we've had to viewer ratio in a while. You guys can't see this, but I appreciate it. All right, that is going to do it, you lovelies. I got to go film some more stuff. Much love. Thank you to every single person that put in a super chat. It truly means the world. I know you don't have to, and YouTube is a tricky place to grow, and we're growing this beast very quickly, at least to me. Like, we're almost at 50K. I want to get that button, that 100K button. That's the real goal. But 50K, I want to celebrate you guys and do a 50 comic giveaway. So let's keep growing this thing, hitting that subscription bell. I'll see you guys next week, latest. I might do a vinyl stream, like maybe tomorrow if I have time. Look at all that beautiful vinyl. I might do a vinyl stream, but also that might be next week. So next week, count on, between now and next week, a vinyl stream, either Friday or Tuesday. Going to be starting all the Daredevil stuff. Going to be reviewing the hell out of some movies dropping in March. Novocaine's coming out with Jack Quaid. Lots of stuff to do. I just keep talking. I was trying to hit an hour. We got 40 seconds left. Very much appreciate you guys being here. Reed, Chip Zdarsky's running Daredevil Volume 2. I agree, Felix. You guys, if there's anything, actually also, fourth thing, if there's anything you guys want to see more of on this channel going into the spring, leave a comment below of stuff you want to see so I know what direction to take things. I was talking about how I do too much, but I want to do more because I want to make sure this channel grows. So if there's anything I'm not doing and you want to see it that's reasonable, let me know in the comments below. Bye, Mom. I'm so glad you were here. Jasmine, if you're still here, hope your day is awesome. Christian Unpronounceable, always good to see you. Galaxy Geeks, you're the best. I appreciate you guys very, very much. The Juice soundtrack is incredible, Spidey Sensei. I totally agree. All right, I did it. An hour. We did the thing, guys. Much love. See you soon.